Time for some more Telemann. I do like a good bit of Telemann. This is the E minor sonata, the first movement from it, which I think is just beautiful. It's one of the most glorious melodies. So, starting on a back bow, I think, to make the most of the top G. And we've got a fingering issue, haven't we, right at the very beginning of this. I haven't got enough fingers to play all of these notes. I think you have two choices. One is that you stay where you are, and you shift back on the semitone here, which is what I did to start with. Your alternative is that you want all of these semiquavers in the same position, so you move your 4 after the top note and put a 4 on the F sharp. Personal taste, I think those are your sensible options really, so pick one and do it. I find it a bit of a shame not to be able to fall from that into the F sharp. If you move, I think it makes that awkward. So I would favour this one. Then I would put a 4 after the rest. And in there, such a viol playing thing, isn't it? That very eeyore falling away at the end of a phrase. Just come away to nothing by the end of that E. It's quite a long quaver, but by the end of it, I've got the bow on the string, but barely playing it at all, as opposed to the 2 quavers at the start of the bar. What a great interval. Absolutely keep the F sharp down at the bottom. Those 2 are totally connected to the string. But that one is just a nothing, I think. Need to be at the tip for this next bit. Let's chordal finger that, shall we? The C to the G. And now we've got a bowing decision to make. Do we tuck this next G in to sort all our semiquavers out? Or do we wait to here on the big leap as a good place to correct our bowing? I don't think it matters. I do think it's worth making the correction, but in one or other of those places. So from the end of bar 2, maybe here. Fingering wise, it's another great interval, isn't it? You have to leave the D down at the bottom. I think it's risky to bar all the way across there. You're bound to get a decent sound on the bottom one, and just a slightly rubbish sound on the top, because if your fingers are like mine, they're just not quite thick enough to stop both of those notes cleanly. You've got plenty of fingers. Use another one at the top. Let that G disappear completely, and then really glue the bow to the string. Somewhere to go in this next scale. You could start with almost no bow on the bottom D. More. Obviously you can't get slower through it, but you could use just more bow per semiquaver and it would steer you into bar 5. Shall we play from the top together? I think the risk with this piece is that we get far too indulgent and we take it too slowly and we end up counting in quavers. It's cantabile, it's not adagio. So I think we should be really careful about going too slowly. It should be a beautiful, singable, without running out of breath, melodic line. So, 3, 3, 4, 1, 2. such a glorious bar, isn't it, after all that climbing up? Frightening, maybe? Don't think it needs to be. I think if you plant your second finger on the top fret, then you know where to find that B. Wiggle your first finger back, and then come down. Now I would move up here, because ideally all the stuff that's slurred would fit onto one string, and it fits very nicely up here. And then how about closing your hand up and putting a 4 on this D, and then moving back. Did you get that? So I started up here in preparation for a 4 on the top fret, closed up my fingers and put a 4 on that D, and then moved back a semitone. It would be possible to stay up there for the whole thing, wouldn't it? Start in the same place and stay there. Perfectly possible to stay there and then come down. In that bit, I think your C sharp, you do need to reach back, don't you, for the A sharp with a 1. I've ended up in first position by the end of that, which is convenient for going on with. See what you think. So in bar 7, I think there are 2 choices of fingering there. Try them both out and see what suits you. If you come across the string and come down, often the sound, the quality of sound, right up here on the lower strings is much weaker than playing in the same place on the top couple of strings. So you end up with a more kind of covered and less bright sound down there. And I think in this case, it really doesn't matter, does it? We're aiming to fall away anyway. It doesn't matter if the place where we've ended up is much weaker than if we'd put it there. But I think this fingering is equally good. Try them both out and see what you think. Let's go from bar 5. Second finger on the top fret to get the B. 3, 3, 4. A second, because there's a few decisions that I've made along the way that we should possibly discuss. So this is the end of bar 8 going into 9. We're just in first position fingering wise. There's another one of those Eeyore. I think that A can just be handled really gently, and then completely connected to the string for the last 3 semiquavers. Here's another fabulous interval. Absolutely keep the D down at the bottom while you find that C at the top. Obviously on the octave, hold the bottom finger down. Now I've gone back with a 1, brought it back up again. But I found this D sharp here instead. You could go back for it, couldn't you? I just started to feel like my first finger was doing a bit of a dance between the first and second frets and decided it wasn't entirely necessary. So the end of bar 10, I then extended that 4 and found this D sharp on the A string. on the same string as its colleagues in that bar. Does that make sense? Let's play it from the end of bar 8. Right at the end of the bar, final 2 semiquavers. 3, 4. Note at the beginning of bar 12. Just a couple of things to think about. In bar 11, having found that D sharp up here, it's the same shape of phrase as the middle of bar 9, and I said that in the middle of 9 I think that A should be really gently handled so that then you can go on. But I quite like in 11, I think it's a bit of a shame if that B disappears and then the top A comes as a new thing. There's something very dramatic about the interval between that and that, and we just haven't got to the end yet, have we? So I'm inclined to hang on to that as long as you dare and make it as smooth as you can up here. Then I've brought my hand back, closed up the fingers and used a 4 on that G. Then a 4 on the F sharp, and that's got me back to the D sharp at the end of the bar. Should I just whiz through that again? That was the fret for the A. Close your hand up, 4 on the G. Close up again, but not so much, 4 on the F sharp. Start the trill on a 2. Then I would bring your 1 up behind the 2 to play the bottom F sharp. And you might decide, having done that, you're going to bar the next 3 notes. That's fine. You might also decide to play the top one with a 3. You've got 3 fingers, you need 3 strings, as you wish. It's quite nice to keep the 2 on that B. Then you need a 3 for the top. That's a great note as well, isn't it? In the middle of the penultimate bar. Let's play together before we think about the fingering for that last bit. Let's go again from the end of 8. The last 2 semiquavers at the end of 8. 3, 3, 4. It's so full of drama, isn't it, that last little bit? Should we just check the fingering? This is the penultimate bar. From the bottom D sharp. Keep it held and add the 3 to play the top C with. I would then shift up and put these 2 up there. Stay there. And then again, go for the 2 on the top fret to find the A sharp. Makes sense? 2 on the D sharp at the bottom, 3 on the C, don't take the D sharp away. Great interval. Moving up, put these 2 together, these 2 together, go for the top fret. And there we are. I'd better play you a bass line. Here we are then, 2 crotchets in, 3, 4.